Oh yes, we are back in the Fiat 500e studio. This is the best I can do right now. So it's a little bit shaky there, so I will try to sit still. But today I will talk about 4 cars that you should consider up against each other. Because lately people have been asking me, hey Björn, should I go for the Kia e-Niro or should I get a Tesla Model 3, or similar questions, they ask me, hey, this car or that car, this car or that car. So I will try to give you the answer rather than having to reply to 50 different people. So which car is the best for you depends on your need, your wallet, I guess, and your taste, pretty much. So I will talk about 4 cars here. The first one is a Tesla Model S. Tesla Model 3 long range. Second car is a Hyundai Kona, and the third one is Kia e-Niro, and the fourth one is the newcomer, which is Nissan Leaf. They call it the 3.0 E Plus. I just call it the E Plus Leaf. Yeah. So let me talk a little bit about the new Leaf. It's like all over the news today, So the new Leaf has 62 kilowatt hour battery pack. It's about 50% larger than the previous one, and also at the same time they also raised the power on the motor, so it's more powerful, more torque, and it also offers faster charging speed. So great news, yeah. And then this is a little bit like information that doesn't always correspond, but some people claim that it has no cooling at all, only passive cooling, and then some people claim it has active cooling but just air cool battery, not liquid cool. So to me it doesn't make sense that it supports over 1 C charging rate. It's like about 1.5 C charging rate without any active cooling. So I'm pretty sure that it should have some kind of fan-based cooling only, like maybe similar like in ENV200, just a simple fan to cool it down. Okay, it might replicate eventually, but to me it makes no sense to have high charging speed without active cooling. So I could be wrong, but we don't know, but that's just my assumption. But okay, so but at least the new Leaf, the newest one now is like pretty identical to the previous one. The same chassis, everything, interior, everything is the same except that it has a bigger battery and some smaller upgrades, like I mentioned. And unfortunately, they will only produce about 5,000 units for Europe this year, this 2019. So yeah, that means that that has been the advantage with the previous Leaf, that they have been able to pump out the cars fast compared to the competitors. But now with the very limited supply, I guess because they changed the battery supply now, they also get it from LG Chem. So the Leaf doesn't have that edge anymore. All right, but let's look at this comparison table I made. So we have all the cars I listed and the prices. Okay, you see that I had to estimate some values here based on some US stats, or just based on some assumptions. So like, don't take all these numbers until we have the real numbers, like price is just based on US price, also the range and everything. But I think it's like a wild guess that it's not too it's not too unrealistic. No, that was a double negation. It's somewhat realistic, yeah, to put it that way. So I should explain a little bit. Okay, so the mid-range, okay, the battery size, the VLTP range in kilometers. I try not to overcomplicate everything, so I keep this within Europe, yeah. So that's why I didn't even use miles or anything, like that. And also, we don't know yet, or at least maybe I haven't been able to find info about how fast the Model 3 mid-range can charge. I know that the long range can charge at 116 kilowatt, but we don't know yet how fast this one is, but it should be pretty fast nonetheless. And then when it comes to the plug, Tesla is a little bit unique because it can charge on the supercharger, but it can also charge on those other CCS plugs. So that is an advantage for the Tesla. And the Tesla is the only one which has rear-wheel drive. You can also get it with a dual motor, I guess. Maybe not yet, but later. But we assume the mid-range here, and as for power and torque, again, we don't know, but just based on the 0 to 60 numbers, and then I extrapolated to the 0 to 100 kilometers per hour number, you have to expect that even the Model 3 mid-range is a way more powerful car than the other ones. And I haven't been able to test the banana boxes yet, so that's why I'm just guessing based on what I remember from the car. And it actually has a frunk, so that's again the only car in this comparison that has a frunk. And then the last number, the AP score, is it's like my personal score based on the autopilot system, or the LCAS LFA Pro Pilot. And again, Tesla has the best because it steers way better than the other ones. It can do lane changes, and later it can do way more than all the other systems will ever be able to do. But then you see that Niro and Kona, they get a 6, whereas Nissan system gets a 7. And the reason for that is that Nissan's system, if you let off if you don't touch the steering wheel, it will actually try to wake you up, it will brake, and then it will slow down for you. And that's why it gets one more score from me rather than the other ones. The other systems, the LFA, Hyundai and Hyundai and Kia systems, will just disengage, and you will still drive at the same speed until you crash and die. So that is not good. And also one thing you should notice is that why is it that the range on the other cars? Okay, this is something also I was a little bit puzzled when I look up on the website, on Hyundai's website. I found that the VLTP range on Kona is shorter than Niro. Huh? It should be the other way, you know. So whatever, it's no big deal. It's just like 6 kilometers difference. But you see that Tesla and the Niro and Kona, they have very similar range, you know. And these range are also somewhat easy to reproduce in the real world. Whereas Leaf gets shorter range than the other ones. And how can that be? Because the battery is more or less the same, right? Well, the thing is that the battery on Niro and Kona is bigger than what you see here. It's actually, according to my assumption, it should be more like 70 kilowatt hours, because Hyundai and Kia, they always operated with this available energy, rather than what most other car manufacturers do, which is just the gross capacity, and then the net capacity, the capacity you are able to use is always about 10% lower. So this, like, okay, just just explain shortly that on the bottom there, you can't use that capacity. It's reserved to protect the battery. It's called bricking protection. So all EVs have that. Tesla, whatever, has it. And I don't know how it is for the Model 3 mid-range, but based on the long-range one, which I measured to have 72 kilowatt hours, the 62 kilowatt hour here that I found on the internet should be also the available energy. So I'm guessing that the mid-range should be closer to 70 kilowatt hours, just like Niro and Kona. But when it comes to the Nissan, they have always used the gross capacity for the 24 kilowatt hour Leaf. The 24 Leaf had 21 kilowatt hour available. The 30 Leaf had 27, and 40 Leaf had about 37.5 kilowatt hours. So that's why I'm actually assuming that the 62 Leaf now should have about 57 kilowatt hours available. And that's why it gets a lower range rating than the other ones. Yeah, so in case you guys are wondering. So let's talk a little bit about each car here and my own experience with all of them, because I've actually driven all these cars somewhat a lot, some of them. So and also, well, I haven't driven the new Leaf, but like I mentioned, you know, the new Leaf is more or less like the old one. So if you start with the Model 3, what I can say is that let's look at the pros first. And the advantages with the Model 3 is that it has the best performance, the driving performance, like acceleration, top speed, you know, all of that is top for the Model 3. And also Model 3 has the best charging network, because you have supercharger network plus all the other networks you can also use. And Model 3, as I mentioned, has also the best autopilot even today, and it will just be better and better. And Model 3 also has the best efficiency, which is lowest energy consumption, and also at higher speed. It also, then the difference is even bigger because Model 3 is so low and slick compared to the other cars. And well, this is my personal opinion, but the Model 3 has the best infotainment system. That big horizontal screen is like the best in the class. Again, in my opinion, how do you use it, the whole user interface, how easy you can access various functions and all that is the best, yeah. Some people will probably disagree with me, so yeah, go ahead. And also, Model 3 has electric seats, front seats, adjustable, front, both for the passenger and the driver, and also has memory. And the steering wheel is also electrically adjustable, up and down and in and out, so that is good. And Model 3 also, like other Teslas, they have the best app support. Very smooth, very good, responsive app. And it's almost funny that the Tesla app is the most stable of them all. If you compare to Nissan's system or Renault or Volkswagen and BMW, those systems kind of like tend to bug or they are slow. So it's funny that the app is more reliable than the car itself. Yeah, all right. And then there are also some disadvantages with the Model 3. Okay, it's the most expensive one, and it lacks the instrument cluster. So most cars, they have this display, you know, behind the steering wheel, where you get info about speed, about maybe navigation or some car status. All of that stuff is moved to the big screen. So to me, it's a disadvantage. Like, okay, you will get used to it because your brain will be trained to, instead of looking straight down, it will just look down and a little bit to the right. So after a while, you will actually get used to it. But again, I drove the Model 3 a lot, but I still can't get over that. I want more information. Like, to me, again, my personal opinion is more space, more screen space is better, because then you don't have to multiplex too much information in one place and all that. So yeah. Another disadvantage is that the Model 3 does not have a hatch door. It has this, it's a sedan, so that makes it somewhat limited if you want to load larger item in the car. In my opinion, it was a mistake. They should have made it a hatch like Model S, but I guess Tesla, they had to do a compromise when they designed the car. And another disadvantage with the Model 3 is that because it's such a low car, then the seat height is also fairly low. They had to again do a compromise, because if they raise the seat, then you will have less headroom. So that is not good, but yeah. All right, next car up is a Hyundai Kona, and the advantage with Kona is that it has the best price, yeah, of all these four cars. And also it has the second best efficiency. So despite that kind of like big and bulky shape, it's pretty efficient. And Kona is the only car in this comparison that has a head-up display. Actually, the only car in this price range, even if you include other EVs, that has a head-up display. So that is pretty cool. It's nice to have that thing there, yeah, compared to Model 3, which doesn't have an instrument cluster even. And then Kona also has electric front seats, both the passenger and the driver, yeah. So that is nice, yeah. But then there are some disadvantages with the Kona, which is that Kona is the smallest one. It has really like very limited cargo space because it's so short and small. And also for the passenger in the back there, you have somewhat limited leg room. And also, I mentioned the front seats, they are electrically adjustable, but there are no memory seats, not even for the driver, so that's a little bit weird. And also, Kona has, just like e-Niro, limited charging speed in cold weather. So I should make a separate video where I explain this, but you will usually get okay charging speed. But if you want to charge at those HPC, those fast chargers that goes higher than 50 kilowatt, then in winter, it's somewhat challenging to reach the maximum speed, which is about 75 to 77 kilowatt. You will usually only get about 45 to 57, yeah, only. And Kona doesn't have app support, so there's no way to preheat the car, check state of charge, or do whatever like you can do in some of the other cars. All right, next car is Kia e-Niro. So the advantage with Niro is that it has the best by far cargo space. It's like so spacious. Sometimes it feels like I'm in a Tesla when it comes to cargo space. So thumbs up for that. And also e-Niro has the best interior space for the front people. So what I mean is that when you're sitting there in the front, you just want to have space for your cup holder, to put your bag, or you put your phone or stuff like that. And Niro has just superb space there. Yeah. And Niro has also electric adjustable seat, but only for the driver, not for the passenger. But the advantage is that the driver's seat has memory and also has that easy access feature where you can slide it automatically backwards when you open the door. Yeah. But there are some disadvantages with the e-Niro, which is that it's somewhat large and bulky. So at high speed, it's a thirsty beast. Yeah, I've done it on on the motorways in Sweden and Denmark. So that was a thirsty adventure. And again, just like Kona, also e-Niro has limited fast charging speed when it's cold outside. And one other thing I don't like about the e-Niro is that the instrument cluster is like, it's somewhat outdated. It's like there's a little bit there's a display there, you can get some information about trip and whatever, but they also have like some stuff that looks more like an analog gauge and some crap. So they could have utilized that space way better, you know, like for instance e-Golf. But e-Golf is not in this comparison, but e-Golf has just superb nice instrument cluster screen. And oh, did I forget to mention it, but Kona and Niro, they don't have app support yet. It might come later, but they don't have app support. So it means that yes, I remember it now. Oh, I'm getting old. But yeah, just like Kona, Niro doesn't have app support either. Right, let's move to the last car, shall we? Which is a Nissan Leaf E+. So the advantage with the Leaf is that it has fairly high charging speed. You know, they say maximum 100 kilowatt. And they also claim at least 70 kilowatts. So my gut feeling then based on that is that Leaf will most likely charge faster than Niro and Kona, but not as fast as Tesla. Yeah. So Leaf will be like the second fastest there when it comes to charging. But again, we don't know what's going to happen if it overheats or not. But another advantage is that Leaf has app support. Yes, you can log in and check status, you know, check state of charge, charging, all that. But I hear from Leaf owners in Norway at least that they are not happy that the app is very unstable, but at least you have app support. So another advantage with Leaf is that it actually has very good cargo space there. So for especially in the trunk, you know, people who need to carry a stroller or something, bam, it goes in there, lots of cargo space. But okay, I will come back to the space in the back. And also the seats in Leaf are like one of the best I've been in. So the driver's seat is just a pleasure to sit there and when I'm driving. And also, as I mentioned before, you know, the ProPilot system is also quite good because it has that safety feature in case you pass out or whatever. Then it will bring the car to a stop rather than trying to kill more people. Yeah. So those were the advantages, but unfortunately there are many disadvantages with the Leaf. The Leaf is the second most expensive car in this comparison. So yeah, that is not good. Also, the Leaf is the least efficient car. So it's thirsty in lower speed and it's also thirsty in higher speed than some of the other cars. Actually, all the other cars in this comparison. And it also has the lowest range. And in the back, in the second row, there is this hump in the middle where, you know, when that third person who will sit in the back, there's like this hump. So that is a little bit uncomfortable if you have to sit 3 people in the back there. And the reason I mentioned this is because All the other cars, Kona, Niro, Model 3, does not have that hump. So Leaf, they have this hump because probably the battery runs through there. Another disadvantage with Leaf is that in the driver in the front seat, you have somewhat limited space to put your things. Well, like I mentioned with the e-Niro, e-Niro was like superb. You have lots of space, open space, like the middle console you open there, you have lots of space. In the Leaf, very cramped, little space. Some people also complain that because they build this kind of like middle console to take up, to, I don't know, make it look nicer, you also have somewhat limited like leg room, and your knee will bump into that console. So there was one Norwegian, he asked if it was possible to remove those console plastic beams on his 40 kilowatt hour Leaf. Sorry, I'm dying. I'm just kidding. So yeah, so that is again disadvantage in my opinion. Again, you might not agree because it doesn't matter to you. So yeah, and also the new Leaf, another feature that I don't like is that actually I think all the other cars, they have a digital speedometer that is always visible, no matter whatever else you try to display. The old Leaf also had that. The previous Leaf, I mean the 30 and the 24 kilowatt hour Leaf, but the 40 Leaf and the 62 Leaf doesn't have it. They remove it for some reason. And I personally believe that the digital speedometer is easier to read, faster and easier to read. And also, I mentioned that, the steering wheel in the Leaf is just the seats in this Leaf is just one of the best. But unfortunately, we can't say that with the steering wheel because all the other cars, you can adjust the steering wheel in and out and up and down. In the Leaf, let me see. If I remember correctly, you can only adjust it up and down, not in and out. So that means that you might have a good seat position, but then your arms might be stretched too far, So that is a disadvantage for some people. Again, it might not apply to you if you have orangutan arms. And also the Leaf is the only car in this comparison that has only manual seat adjustment in the front. All the other cars, they have electrical seats. And the last thing I should mention, disadvantage with Leaf is that Leaf uses CHAdeMO plug. The other cars, they use CCS, at least in Europe, they like the Model 3 uses a CCS plug. So that is way more future-proof than the CHAdeMO, because we see now that more and more HPCs will be delivered with only CCS plug, like Ionity and also Statoil. Circle K, they also start rolling out their own chargers, and they only chose to put on the CCS plug there. So it seems like Europe is trying to squeeze out CHAdeMO. There are some companies like Fortum, their HPCs will be equipped with a CHAdeMO plug. Whether it will support 100 kilowatt or just 50 kilowatt, that's another question. So I think that was a long video as usual, but yes, I will try to conclude this, that what should you do? What car should you get? Well, hopefully by now you should have figured out which car is the best for you. But I would just say that if you have the money, then you should buy a Model 3. Given that you can live with the disadvantages with the Model 3. Yeah. And if you have limited money, then you should go for a Kona, because it's the best for the money. But also, if you can live with that limited space, if you don't have too big family, go for a Kona. And then, obviously, if you need lots of space, then you should go for Niro. But again, obviously, you also have to consider the disadvantages with the Niro. Let's say if you need lots of space, but you also drive a lot and you drive high speed, then maybe you should consider Model 3 even. But yeah. And then what about the Leaf? Well, if you want the Leaf, despite all the disadvantages that I have found out now, then you can consider the new Leaf, but you should also consider the 40 kilowatt hour Leaf, because the 40 kilowatt hour Leaf is still very much alike the new one, except that the 40 one has less power and less range. Yeah, and also, okay, so what you're missing out with the 40 kilowatt hour Leaf is range, power, and charging speed. But the new Leaf, I mean, sorry, the 40 Leaf with that recent fix charges fairly fast. So I think, you know, you should consider the 40 Leaf. And people who already has the 40 Leaf, I've seen discussions already now on the Norwegian group, like, should you get the 62 or should you still keep the 40? I would say keep the 40, you know. Maybe if we did a race with the 40 versus the 62, it could just be a matter of minutes between those two, because those two cars still have to charge somewhere. And as I mentioned, you know, towards the end here, you might not have HPCs with faster charging speed, so you will have an initial edge in the beginning when you start driving. But these two cars should be more or less like efficient. Maybe even the new Leaf, the latest one, the 62, is less efficient because it has a more powerful motor. I'm not sure about this, so like, yeah, you can figure out. Yeah. But yeah, so anyway, I think that will be it. Hope you guys, I hope this didn't confuse you even more. Yeah. So maybe I should also make a follow-up video if you guys are up for it, which is to try to compare a Tesla Model 3 long range, this time a long range, maybe even a dual long range or performance, versus a second-hand Model S, because also lots of people have been asking me about that exact question, and I'm like, it depends on your need. Do you need more space? Go for S. If you don't need the space, maybe go for 3. But again, the lack of instrument cluster and all that stuff. So yeah, but okay, let's just end it here. So again, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video as always. So bye bye.